attendance, we do have quorum. We are missing a few people, and we will note that in the minutes. This morning for the meeting, do we have a disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof? And Councillor McCaw.
Thank you, through you. I think that I'll just declare on 14 for the Delicious Belleville Edition restaurant promotional update. But I also want to make note of number 9. And I'm wondering whether on number 9, there's something to do with MAT expenditures, which include Quintylicious. And I'm not sure why it's there because we've already agreed to fund that. So I don't know whether that needs to be referred back to staff for revision or how we should be addressing that. There are some things on MAT expenditures that I do want to discuss, but that said, I feel like we need to refer this back to staff for revision to remove the Quintylicious off of that.
Well, I think if that's okay with you, Councillor, what we'll do is just remove that for discussion when you're involved. So noted on your pecuniary, we wouldn't involve that.
Well, can I ask why it's on there anyway? I mean, that's sort of been something we've funded in the past. So is there any reason that it be on there anyway? Should it not be removed?
Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, we have included that with the notation that it was approved by council in December. So we were just really trying to show the committee all of the things that have been paid for out of MAT expenditures to date. That's the only reason it's included.
Okay, so with that, then I'll just make note of and mention of, and I don't know how to separate it because there are things on it that I want to discuss, but Quintylicious is not one of them. So I don't know how you want to separate it, if you can separate it.
Well, what we'll do is we'll just talk to everything but that, and if we need to go into that one, then we will ask you to be removed. So that
okay, hopefully
discussing that while you're here.
Note that then, if the clerk could note that I will declare it on anything to do with Quintylicious on this particular agenda.
Granted. Okay. Anybody else? Ms. Brown, go ahead.
I don't have a pecuniary interest per se, but I'd like to make a change to the agenda because it relates to the math discussion, if I may. Item number 14, retail commercial pop-ups report, is when we talk about the initiative, but the MAT expenditures on number 9 actually ask for approval of the funding. So I'm concerned that we're approving funding on an initiative we haven't yet discussed. Okay, so I'm just wondering if we could change the order.
Yeah, so instead of 14, I think it's number 10 you're talking about. So we'll move number 10 up to number 9 or number 9, and we'll move 9, which is the work plan, to number 10. I think, would that be sufficient? So we'll talk about the plan before we talk about funding.
Yeah, so I'm referring to the actual retail commercial pop-up report that was attached, item number 11. I'd just like to move it in before we discuss item number 9.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, seeing none. So we're going to move to minutes, December 10th. Were sent to everyone. Can I get a motion to put that on the floor? Councillor Kelly. Seconder by Ms. Stickler. Any comments, discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all improved. See your hands up. Carried. Thank you. Okay, no correspondence or deputations today. So I just wanted to start with, I think what's been really great, and I'm just going to reiterate a couple things with the committee. Just let me pull this up just one sec. So the beginning of the year, I know it's the beginning of the year. I just want to reiterate our strategic plan, mission statement, and purpose. I think as we go through today's meeting, but again, it is a new year, and it's great to be reminded about what we're here and what we're trying to do, and about the plan that we completed last year, or got approved last year. So I just want to really go over those again, just so everyone has that fresh in their mind. That the EDDC provides strategic recommendations regarding the resources required to seize opportunities for sustained employment, destination development, and business development. And the EDDC mission is to support the growth of a vibrant and diverse business community by providing viable solutions to labor market development, commercial, industrial, and residential opportunities, and destination and tourism initiatives. And to keep up to date on progress, staff have once again started the strategic report card, which gives the board an update of each of our strategic initiatives, but moreover allows each of our partners to contribute their activities so we are both informed and made sure to be avoiding duplications. So staff, I know Karen had sent that out, and I think that's really great as a board to have not only during the meeting, but in between meetings, so we can keep an eye on what we are tasked to do through our strategic plan. And also, of course, the other plan that was included with that passed by council was the COVID recovery plan. So Karen, I know that you're talking about the economic development activity report, but also that I think that report that you sent out is good to mention as well. So go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so we had, as part of the strategic plan process, we were given a report card to complete. So I have sent that out to either the committee members or the non-voting members who have a contribution to make to the priorities that are included on the report card. So I have gotten some of them back, so thank you very much. I know I sent it out a bit late. Still a few others to get back, but once I have it and have it completely filled out, I will circulate it to the committee.
Okay, any questions on that for Karen at all? And the economic development activity report itself, Karen, so that was a separate report, which has a lot of things in it. You guys have been very busy. Did you want to comment on that at all?
Well, the only thing that I'll mention is it certainly doesn't include everything we're working on. We've had it include sort of the major things. It represents the work of Alicia, of Kimberly, our administrative assistant, as well as myself. And that is being provided to the committee just for information. We're not looking for direction or anything like that on the activity report, really just to let the committee know what we're working on. So if you have any questions, if you're not sure what something refers to, you know, we put it on there for your information, and hopefully we can answer any questions you might have.
Great, and I think when we get to the end of the meeting today, when we get to our partners, when you're speaking, and I know that we want to get into that habit of bringing updates to that strategic plan or to the report card, if you can speak today to that as well, it also allows us just to be informed of what's happening. Sometimes we don't know everything that's happening on our partner's end, and it helps us to bring that all together. Councillor McCaw.
Thank you, through you. Did we miss number 7, the terms of reference?
Perhaps, yes. We can jump to that right after this. I think I had the old version, Karen, today for the agenda. Okay, any other questions on that at all? Okay, seeing none. So we'll go to, no, sorry, number 7, terms of reference. Karen, if you'd like to go ahead.
Okay, so just council will be reviewing committees in the next month or so. And so I thought it was an ideal time to take a look at the terms of reference. Some changes were needed in terms of those folks that are around the table as voting members and as non-voting members. We've been fortunate to have a representative of Loyalist College, the student at Loyalist College, attend, but for lots of reasons, the attendance of that individual has been hit or miss, certainly because of the issues happening at the college. So we felt that it might be time to change that representative. We're recommending it be changed to the individual the college feels may best represent both students and administration at the college. I have talked to Dr. Vaughn at Loyalist, and they are thrilled to have the opportunity to participate on the committee. So they will be recommending somebody in the next little while. I also thought there was it was time to do some housekeeping changes. We did have a representative from Quinty, and Quinty is no longer functioning. So time to remove that notation off the terms of reference. And we've had a spot for Quinty Manufacturers Association for quite some time, but it's been very difficult to get a representative of the association attend. I know that Chris King from Quinty Economic Development Commission and myself are pretty tied into that sector. So we felt that it might be appropriate to remove that representative and rely on staff to provide updates. It doesn't prevent us from inviting a manufacturing representative to any meeting for input or information. Sorry,
Sorry,
Ryan.
start again. There we go. I'm on mute. Mr. Clerk, do we need a motion for this terms to change that to bring to council?
I would suggest if the committee is interested in recommending to council or having them actually amended, then yes, a recommendation to council by motion is the way to go.
Okay, so let's get a motion to get this on the floor if we can. Councillor Kelly, seconder by Mr. Gamble. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. All right, so we're going to jump to report ED 2020-39R 2021 MAT expenditures. And so like we said, when we get to anything around Quintilicious, we're going to move that out. So we'll just skip around all of that at the moment. And Karen, if you'd like to go ahead.
So Ryan, if I could interrupt, that was where I wanted to advance the retail commercial initiative in advance of the MAT discussion.
Okay, so sorry about that, Ms. Brown. So what we're going to do then is move, we're going to take this one up. Right now, we're going to do the retail commercial pop-up report, and we'll start with that one then, number 10 or number 11. And go ahead, Karen, with that.
Okay. Sorry, let me just find it here in my agenda. Okay, so this is an initiative that came forward from some of our local retailer and landlord sectors. It's a proposal for a retail or commercial citywide pop-up shop. We're proposing a $25,000 budget for the project. And we really see it fulfilling a number of the priorities identified in the strategic plan, in the retail recovery plan, and the pandemic business recovery plan. It fits really well with all of those, with all of the priorities expressed in those plans. We're anticipating about a 6-month planning process for this project. We think from where we sit at this point, the project could launch in October, so it would start before the busiest of the holiday season and go until the end of March in 2022. There is a fair bit of preparing that has to be done for this project. We have touched base with the Small Business Center with Trendval as well, and they have indicated an enthusiastic willingness, I will say, to participate in this project. They feel that it fits within their mandate very well. The committee may be aware that there was a similar program launched a number of years ago called Pitch This Place, and it was similar to this, not exactly the same, but similar to this. And it was done in partnership with Trendval and the Small Business Center as well. And it identified a space in downtown. There was essentially an RFP and a presentation that was required from businesses looking to occupy the space. It was awarded, and there was a business in downtown that opened and stayed for a couple of years. So this is a program that is not unique. There's all kinds of these programs across the province. We're aware of programs that are very similar in Hamilton, Peterborough, Sudbury, Langley, BC, a lot of downtown Toronto, lots of different programs around. And if they're run properly, they can be very successful and can certainly help fill vacant commercial spaces.
Okay, so this report will look to see you get a motion to get on the floor then. Councillor McCaw, seconder. Councillor Kelly. Okay, go ahead for discussion. Catherine Brown, then Councillor Kelly. Go ahead. Oh, Catherine, you're on mute.
Thank you. I have to get used to that button. I have 2 points, but my first, I have a question for the clerk, if I may, through the chair. Mr. McDonald, I had an opportunity to review a white paper that was prepared by a legal firm regarding municipal bonusing on what's permitted and what's not. Interestingly enough, the court cases that were cited in the white paper actually related to the county, so very close to home. In looking at Section 106 of the Municipal Act, it would seem to suggest that that what is being recommended for the retail pop-up shops could confer, or possibly would confer, an obvious advantage to the pop-up shops, and therefore might be considered a bonus. And I wondered if you could just offer some insight and maybe an opinion on whether or not there's a liability that exists with this.
Certainly through the chair, there is a general provision in the Municipal Act that prohibits bonusing. Manufacturing, industrial, commercial sector. So municipalities are prohibited from bonusing, which is providing incentives, monetary or otherwise, to property owners in that in those sectors. As far as I'll speak just in general terms, but as far as an opinion, I'll leave those to solicitors, and ultimately, we can get one. But the provisions in the Act speak specifically to general terms for municipalities to bonus in those sectors. But there are many provisions in the Act that permit the granting of grants, assistance in various forms, in the name of economic development and other incentive for development, leases, grants in many forms, and specifically for startup of small business. So again, as far as an opinion that anybody would kind of take to the bank and or defend themselves or any action, I'm not sure I'd go that far, but as Manager Post said, there are many municipalities that have undertaken programs similar to this, including the city of Belleville to an extent in the past that I'm aware of. I'm not sure, having not looked at this in any depth, that it causes me any great concern at this point. Certainly, if the committee is recommending council, staff will look at it a little bit more in depth and may seek a legal opinion. But again, the bonusing provisions have lots of provisions that allow some sectors, and particularly when it comes to economic development. So 107 speaks specifically to the general power of council to make grants, and then it continues down to 108 small business and goes from there. So, again, without really being in depth as far as what is being proposed, I would hazard that I shouldn't probably weigh in as far as a concrete opinion, but this is more common than I think is thought. As far as a legal opinion and or people challenging, that's what it takes. Again, bonusing in the Municipal Act is prohibited, but it doesn't come with oversight from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, whose act, the Municipal Act is under that ministry. So it would take a resident, or a business, or an interested party to file a challenge of an action of the municipality related to what they thought was bonusing to trigger something to the effect of what you're speaking about, court decisions in the white paper being discussed. So yes, some risk, obviously, anytime there are resources being allocated by the municipality to any parties in those three sectors specifically noted, but there are ways to mitigate it as detailed in the Act.
Thank you. And my second point, and I made notes because I wanted to make sure that I was being as balanced as I could. So I want to start off with the downtown district has been very supportive of pop-ups in the past as being part of our community, because it allows us to fill the vacant spaces and gives us an opportunity while the pop-up is in place to really pitch the potential for a future, more permanent business in the area. And case in point, we've hosted numerous artisan vendor organizations And this past winter, we had Mistletoe Magic pop-up shop in for 6 weeks. That did prove to be very beneficial in driving additional traffic. As well, in the downtown district, we have an initiative that we call District Spaces, which allows potential new businesses and investors to come and look at specific or identified commercial spaces in one day. COVID's made that far more difficult for us to continue that initiative. But Mary Jo will actually reference something in her report today that we, as a way of being able to pivot around that. But concerning specifically this proposal, and on behalf of the 200 members of the BIA, I have to express my opposition to the proposal, the timing of the proposal, not the proposal itself, but the timing of the proposal and the recommended rent subsidy. One only has to watch the news every single day to understand that small businesses everywhere have borne the brunt of this lockdown throughout the pandemic. We've had numerous small businesses who are doing their very best to survive. I'm one of them, so I know whereof they speak. Most of us have just paid our February rent, and many have no idea how to make that rent other than going out of pocket. Many small businesses were and continue to be faced with no financial support or limited financial support other than assuming a loan. And most of us are trying desperately to try and avoid assuming more debt on top of our businesses. As a BIA, we are doing everything we possibly can to generate business to their online sites, investing in more marketing and advertising to support our members, and making sure they have the best chance of obtaining the grants to assist them in this extraordinary time. In fact, before joining EDDC today, I was on a conference call with a number of retailers who are all talking about the various grants that they are applying for, the challenges of applying for them, and all the things that we're trying to share ideas with each other about how we can just survive. The proposal right now, and I apologize for the term, but it was the way I wrote it, the proposal coming in and the timing of it strikes me as being a little tone deaf to what is actually happening with our small businesses in the downtown and across the city. Why would we suggest offering a rent subsidy to a new business who could well be housed beside a business that is really doing their absolute best to survive and that may not survive? Yes, this proposal may not start till October. I did read it in detail and I want to be clear about that. But our advocacy organizations are recognizing that it is likely going to take until 2024 and 2025 before our existing businesses can actually say that they have recovered, if they survive at all. So as the chair of the BIA and as the voice of 200 plus businesses in our downtown district, I will not support the timing of this initiative being recommended to council at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Kelly next.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just want to thank Karen for the report. Excuse me, Karen, in the report it says up to 5 retail pop-ups. Why did we settle on 5?
We looked at the number we felt could be reasonably managed, and that was the number that we felt we were comfortable with.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McCaw.
Thank you, through you. You know, much of what Catherine Brown has said, I truly believe. There's no way I'm going to support anything that even remotely looks like municipal bonusing. To me, it's unlawful, whether it's done in other municipalities or not. I really don't care. I only care about what happens in our municipality. I myself read Section 106 of the Municipal Act, and it set out the prohibition as follows: assistance prohibited. Despite any act, a municipality shall not assist directly or indirectly any manufacturing business or other industrial commercial enterprise through the granting of bonuses for that purpose. So that's the first line. I don't want to read the whole thing, but that said, for a few reasons, I'm just not going to support it. Number one, I don't think municipal funds should be used to fund the profitability of private commercial enterprise. I've never wavered from that opinion from my first days on council, as seen by the senator's deal that went on. So there's just no way I'm going to support that. Secondly, I don't think it's fair. If you're going to do for 5 businesses, you're going to do for 45 businesses. So I just do not see this being a reasonable proposal. And the timing in itself also, again, to me, it would be throwing good money after bad. And it is a slap in the face to those that are struggling, those business people that are struggling to stay afloat. So for those reasons, mainly the municipal bonusing reason, but for all the other reasons I've stated, there's just no way that I would support it now or at the council table.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Gamble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to all, I apologize for being a few minutes late. Sorry to keep everybody waiting. At first, I struggled with this proposal and then reread it and rethought it a little bit more. And then looked at the funding and funding coming from Matt, then I could understand how it fits a little bit more. The idea of Matt funds to be used to drive tourism in all its forms. And we've been using them for all sorts of items. And to me, this fits. It didn't at first, but now I see why. I mean, we've got some empty storefronts. We need some action. And the timing to me, at first, again, I thought this was a weird time, October, the fall. But then again, if MAT funds are supposed to help encourage tourism, they may well be best spent at a time when we are in most need of tourists. And that begins in October. So anything that kind of carries us through October, November, December, all the way through till April, that may be the way. So just a couple of cents. I will be supporting the motion.
Okay, thank you. And anyone else on this? Sure. Councillor Kelly, second time around. Just before you do, Councillor Kelly, Stephanie, would you like to weigh in on this at all?
Yeah, like the amount of money is really for 5 areas, is it not? So it would assist with a bunch of different organizations that would come together. Similar, like, is it like Pinnacle Music, what they had in there type thing as you looking at, or?
If I can through the chair. So yeah, we're looking at, I guess, opening up the entire city to this opportunity. So the 5 spaces we hoped would be spread out around the city. And then not necessarily would these just be temporary pop-ups. The hope is that we would be able to choose entrepreneurs and business ideas that would stick around for the long haul. So yes, they'd be given a bit of support initially for the first 6 months, but then after that, they'd be on their own and hopefully profitable and functioning for the long term.
Yeah. No, and I do, I mean, because it's going to help a whole gamut of different organizations, you know, for them to maybe start a business, right? So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is achieve more economic development. So yeah, I would definitely support that. And I don't think it's targeting any particular person, because it's not actually a significant amount of money when you think about 5 different places.
And Mr. Boyce, did you want to comment before we go to second round? Oh, can't hear you, sir. You're still on mute. Now try now.
There. Sorry
There we
about that. I'm going to support it under the, I certainly, I listened to Matt McDonald, and I think that if there's any concern concerning the legality, the city is cautious in things they do, and they'll likely go to a lawyer for a ruling. So the city doesn't get charged. So I'm going to support the idea.
Okay. So I'm going to go second round. I'm just going to add a couple comments from myself. I think just a couple things that are worth noting. I think I was part of the first meeting we had with staff with some of the retailers back in December. There's begin December, because we knew at that point this was the industry that was suffering. So we met with the Quinty Mall There were some landowners from downtown Belleville, some landlords, and staff had even met with some of the Memorial Marketplace, well, at least spoken to, communicated with them. And at that point, it was seen that retail, we know restaurant was the other industry that's suffering, was the one that's of need. So we just had them in a room to ask them and try to brainstorm on what ideas could help them. And the pop-up was the idea that came up actually through the Quinty Mall, in that they were losing stores and losing tenants, and that they need help on trying to fill that in some kind of startup capacity. I think there's a barrier to entry to some people with retail, meaning that with a new business, they may not have the funds to start, or they don't want to know if they want to try a retail position. And this was something that came up that perhaps would work. It is a pilot. It is a startup, because we don't know of a lot of other areas doing this. Just like the last pop-up project, it is something that is something that we are taking a leap with. But through staff, they've done the reports and the research, and I do support this. I think it is about recovery. It's about getting out of COVID and starting new. I think the funding, again, coming from Matt, works towards creating new product. But if you look at those different sectors and different areas, the downtown, the Memorial Marketplace, the Quinty Mall, any place, and I don't think that we're limiting areas. This is going to be across the whole city. It could end up being something that is great, and businesses that may not have had retail before get into it. I'm just going to also reiterate something I heard. It was at this ROMA this year, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, but also last year, that stated they think now over 40% of retail in Canada is at risk of being gone. To Catherine Brown's point, I think this is very pertinent. We have to support existing retail. We can't, and especially with that bonusing discussion, can't do that from the municipal government. That is the provincial and federal governments. But in the municipal government, I believe we can look at a project that gets people started, and we can advocate for those retailers that need help. Those are the things we can do. And so this was staff's solution to this problem, and I think it's a good one. So let's go around a second round. Councillor Kelly, go ahead, sir.
Through you, Mr. Chair. First of all, yes, I'm enjoying the conversation, learning, and Catherine Brown, thanks for your thoughts as well, and all valid. You mentioned 200 plus businesses in recovery mode, 2024. You talked about partnering with the business potentially downtown. I guess when I looked at this, Catherine, 5 pop-ups throughout the city, and we've seen some successes with the pop-ups at Swicks Park this past summer. And if it's done right, it can create energy. It can draw people to downtown. And I would think that if more people are coming downtown to embrace what's happening, that it's a win-win for everyone. So I will be supporting this, and I can appreciate your comments, Catherine. And as Councillor Williams touched on, 40% of retail could be gone. So anything I think that we can do as a city, and with the support of the MAT tax, and it is $25,000 for this pilot project, we're showing support that we're in this together and we want to make it work. And these 5 pop-ups, if there are 5, will hopefully generate some business for the other folks as well that are in it. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else for second round? Catherine Brown.
Make sure I'm off mute this time. I just wanted to follow up my conversation in terms of the position I'm taking is not related to the initiative. It's the timing of the initiative. I just wanted to also point out, over the course since the beginning of 2020, in fact, since the pandemic, the downtown district has attracted 21 new businesses, both food and beverage and other, and 2 major property investors. We've been able to do that without incentives. We've been able to do that by demonstrating that this is the place that we want to be. So I guess I also struggle with bringing 5 businesses in Is it really going to be beneficial? And I appreciate it's a pilot, but at this stage, I'm more concerned with the optics. I'm more concerned about how our businesses are going to receive this news when it goes to the media, and it will go to the media for discussion. So I want to just be clear. My issue is not with the initiative itself. I think that there could be a huge win for this. I think the timing while we are in lockdown is not the optics that we as EDDC want to convey. And do we want to take the risk of disenfranchising the existing businesses who are working so hard by saying that somebody else, because they're new, gets a benefit on their rent that will allow their businesses to be more successful at the front end, when all of the businesses right now, small businesses who've been in lockdown for almost 2 months for the second time, is this the right time to put this initiative forward? Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McCaw, and then I think we'll go to a vote.
Thank you, through you. To Ms. Post, Karen, you mentioned Pitch This Place. Can you tell me who paid, where the funding came from for Pitch This Place?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor McCaw. It was, there was both in-kind and financial resources, I believe, provided through the Small Business Center, through Trendval, through the City of Belleville as well. It was quite some time ago, so I can't quite remember what the numbers were, but there were contributions from a number of economic development organizations.
So I guess further to
the
that.
initiative was 2015, Karen, sorry. The initiative was 2015. I was one of the participating businesses, so.
Okay, so just a question then, why wouldn't we fund this through Trendval now? Why would we use municipal resources to do that? I mean, I certainly think I would be happier with it if we were using other resources, but I still have a really hard time. And I've talked to a few people about this, and I find that they resent their tax dollars, even though it comes from that, it still belongs to the taxpayers, that their funding would be used to fund the profitability of somebody else. And I think that's where it comes right down to for me. If this proposal came back to me with Trendval as the funding source, I could live with that. But as a city, as far as that's concerned, who's going to make the decision who the 5 people are? How much is each one going to get? Will it be evenly distributed? All of these things. So again, I'm not going to support it. And I'm not going to support it under the pretense that I will not use money belonging to the municipality for someone else's profit. So, I mean, I'd certainly, if you could come back to me and say, Trendval will pay for this initiative, I'd be all in. But until I hear that Trendval is paying for the entire initiative, I'm all out.
If I can just provide a bit of information. So we have been talking to Trendval and to the Small Business Center about this project. They are very supportive, but we have not talked with them about taking on the project themselves, being the leader of the project, or substantial financial commitment to the program at this point. I know they're supportive, but in terms of what money they may contribute, that we just don't know at this point.
Thank you. Maybe before this hits council, we could find out if they would be interested in funding this initiative for the City of Belleville. If it comes back at council that Trendval agrees to fund this amount of money, the entire funding of it. And another thing I think we need to look at is the additional staff resources that's required for this particular initiative. I mean, we're talking about staff propose a 6-month planning process. Your department's already stretched, so to propose a 6-month planning process to me is unreasonable as well. So, I mean, unless you can come back to me and say that Trendval is willing to fund it, yeah, there's just no way that I'm going to, and I will speak strongly against it. And you know, I will do some more research from a standpoint of legal advice about the municipal bonusing end of things. So anyway, that said, we'll move on, but that is I'm hopeful that somebody will reach out to Trend Val and see if they would take on the funding of this.
Okay, so thank you, Counselor. So I think, Karen, I think if, again, this passes and we'll do a vote now, perhaps we can have more information come if this goes to council. Thank you very much. Okay, the motion's on the floor. All in favor? Against? All right, so how many, Mr. McDonald, how many do you have there? Do you have 3?
I think I saw 4 in favor, but if you do it again, it's difficult in this. People, if people can be very conscientious, putting your hand as close to your face as possible. Some of your, it looks like your arm's up, but your hand is not in screen.
Okay, so all in favor, hands up. Okay, there we go. It's carried. Thank you. We had a delay too. Okay, so I'm going to now go to report ECDEV 2020-39R 2021 MAT expenditures. Karen, go ahead, please.
Okay, so this was brought forward to the committee before, and we took the feedback of the committee and redid the report. I do apologize if the version that came as a PDF, the copier missed the first page, unfortunately, so I did send up the full report separately as a Word document. So we've taken a look at what is currently in the bank as of I believe it was November, so there was $212,000 available in the account. We know that more funding has come in since this report was initially drafted, but we haven't included those numbers in this report at this point. So we've gone through the report as it was originally drafted, took into account the comments we received from the committee, and redid the list of proposed projects. We're confident that these projects fit with the intent of collecting and spending the MAT funds, that it will help drive tourism. It will provide support for the tourist sector. And so these are the projects that we're recommending be funded by MAT this year.
Okay. So can I get a motion to put this report on the floor, please? Blair Gamble, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any discussion? Blair Gamble, go ahead.
Thank you, Manager Post, for putting together the report. It helps outline where the city's money is being spent. That's helpful. Building on past conversations, it's nice to see things spread across different areas, different sectors, and different regions of the town. One question, tourism wayfinding plan. Can you give us a little more information on that one? I know it's a big spend on there, and it's certainly one we need, but can you just give us a little clarification?
Certainly. So what we're proposing there is that, you know, anytime you come into one of the entrances of the city, you'll see, I think our manager of operations likes to call it sign clutter or sign overload. So you'll see at the entrance to the city, all kinds of individual signs. They aren't consistent in terms of the look, the size, the way the information is presented. And you'll find them literally scattered all over every intersection. So what we propose is to have some consistent signage at the main entrances of the city and elsewhere around the city, directing folks who are new to the community to tourism highlights. So we think that, for one, it will attract the attention of residents and visitors. It will provide an attractive entrance to the city, and it will provide an easy way to give them information about what there is to do, where there is to go in the community, all done in a consistent format.
Blair, that answer your question?
Yes, very helpful. Thank you. I know it's I recall moving here 5 years ago or so, and signage all over was just crazy to somebody who was new. So I would appreciate some guidance, and visitors might as well.
Okay. Ms. Persis, you wanted to speak on that?
Yes, thank you through the chair. I just wanted to comment that a resource we've been looking at when putting together that proposal is a wayfinding implementation system that has recently been done by Prince Edward County. So I would encourage the group, if you want to see the layers of that program, it's the county-wide wayfinding system implementation. And they have a lot of great information on their website in terms of what their process looked like and what the objectives of the program are.
Okay. Any more comments for anything on the report? Okay, seeing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, 2021 draft work plan. Karen, go ahead.
So I thought it would be helpful for the committee. This is a work plan that we really do annually, more so for our internal purposes to really plan out what our priorities are going to be for the coming year. I always provide it to my boss, who is the CAO. But I thought it would be helpful as information to the committee. Again, not one of those things necessarily we're looking for direction from the committee on, but we want to make sure you know what's kind of on our plate, what our priorities are going to be for 2021, and also provide for your information in case there are any questions about any of the specific initiatives that we'll be working on this year.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Any questions on that? Okay, seeing none. Okay, Karen, job fair update, March 10th, 2021.
Okay, so as the committee may know, we typically have 2 job fairs per year. The last few years, we've had 3. We partner with the City of Quinty West. It's been a great opportunity with great feedback from both job seekers as well as employers. We offer an opportunity for employers to get together and greet job seekers. They can do on-the-spot interviews and so on. Last fall, we held a virtual career fair using a pretty user-friendly platform. We had about 30 employers participate, which was great. The uptake from job seekers was not what we had wanted. We had hoped for more job seekers participating. We realized that one of the, I think, barriers to having job seekers participate was their reluctance to try the software, perhaps a bit of intimidation around the software, and even some challenges around having the hardware to participate in the online platform for the job fair. So what we have done this year, we'd originally proposed to have the job fair in February, but in talking through the logistics of getting people comfortable with attending as a job seeker, we've engaged the support of Employment Ontario, the local library, our city and Quinty West libraries, and other agencies to help us essentially do some training and introduce the idea and support folks who maybe aren't familiar with or comfortable with the software, or who may need the hardware to participate in the job fair. So that's taken a little bit of extra time to get those folks on board, and they've been incredibly supportive, and we think we have a great plan to encourage job seekers to come out to this virtual career fair. So we did move the job fair back, so it's now scheduled for, I believe, March 10th. So, and what we're doing this year to try and capture as many job seekers as possible, we have a session in the morning from 10 until 12, and then we have another session from 5 until 7 in the evening. So hopefully we'll capture anybody who's interested in looking for a new job.
Okay, thanks, Karen. And I think we're going to talk a little later, probably in new business, just about some things that are happening with the Work in Belleville program and looking at to be a Work in Quinty program, and specifically the over 2,000 jobs that we can't fill in the area right now, and plans to go through that. And I think the job fair is one angle. Another angle might having to be more proactive in finding job seekers if we can't fill them here. Companies, if they can't find employees, can't grow. If companies aren't growing, they're not creating the regular jobs that we need for people who can't find just those jobs. And then working with Loyalist, hopefully we can work on how we're training employers. But I know Chris King will speak about that a bit in QEDC, and they've also identified that and going forward. Any more questions on job fair at all? Okay, thank you, Karen. Discover Belleville Visitor Guide update.
If it's okay, Councillor Williams, I was going to ask Alicia to update on items 13, 14, and 15 on the agenda.
Go ahead, Ms. Purchase.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Williams. So first up is Discover Belleville. So we have gained a lot of great assets in terms of content for the guide this year. We are at the point where we've received the artistic direction for the guide. It's going to be coming out April 1st, the print guide. For 2021, we are keeping it more general than you would normally see in our printed guide and really focusing a lot of the detailed content on discoverbelleville.ca. That being said, we will be featuring a lot of the same content as in the past, and then just making sure that those updates are made regularly online. I'll move to the next item if there's no questions on Discover Belleville. So for Quintylicious, so Quintylicious Belleville is being held March 1st to 31st of this year. We're excited to have 21 restaurants across the city participating, so that we were really happy with the feedback that we had from those partners. This has been a really great partnership in terms of working with the Chamber, the Downtown District, and Bay of Quinty Tourism. We've received a lot of support from those groups that have made it feasible for the city to take the lead on this project. So I want to thank them for all their efforts. And through the partnership that we have with Bay of Quinty, we've been able to partner with a local franchise, which is Get in the Loop. So similar to what you saw during the holiday season in the Downtown District, they had a holiday passport. So we will be doing a physical passport for Quintylicious as an incentive to get people out to the restaurants during the month of March. But we've also partnered with Get in the Loop to do a digital passport. So not only does that incentivize consumers to get out and redeem codes to potentially win some prizes, but it also provides an opportunity for them to leverage the app and promote their restaurant specifically for other features during that month, which I think is great value for the restaurants. And this has been a program that has been completely free for them to participate in. So I think we've certainly met the objective in terms of wanting to support the industry at this time. And I'm really excited to launch the program. We've got some really great photo assets and content for that as well.
Okay, any questions on that so far? And you're talking about Quintylicious, or that's the one you're talking about right now?
Quintylicious, yes.
Yes. Okay. Any questions on that before we bring Councillor McCaw back in? And sorry, how many restaurants did you have participating, Alicia?
We have 21.
Okay. And the exact dates on that?
March 1st to 31st.
Okay. And all of them are doing a price fix, is like before, is that correct?
That's right. So there's each restaurant was given the option of doing up to two $20 menu items and up to two $40 menu items.
And if we're still in lockdown at that point, hopefully we're not, is it built for takeout, pickup, curbside pickup?
It is. So right now we've been focusing a lot of the content on takeout, but we'll be able to open up the promotion to dining in as well if we're able to.
Okay, great. And just a question, just for everyone's knowledge, Mary Jo with downtown, is it tied in restaurants as well downtown and promotion like that, or is it all just under Belleville's brand?
We've been working quite closely with Alicia, so it won't be under the Downtown District brand, but the majority of restaurants, I believe the majority of restaurants are in the Downtown District, but it's actually maybe closer to 60-40, isn't it, Alicia?
Yeah, I believe we have 7 or 8 in the downtown out of the 21.
Oh, okay.
So definitely a good presence for sure.
Great. And just the last question, promotion of this starts, I'm assuming shortly. So people will be well aware of when this starts up.
Yes, we do have a pretty aggressive marketing campaign. So we'll be kicking that off within the next couple of weeks. So I would say 2 weeks in advance of March 1st. We've got a very strong radio campaign. There'll be 14 interviews across all local stations with restaurants on air. We've got digital billboards. We've got significant social media presence, and really using the photo content that we've been able to get for this campaign. The DBIA was able to coordinate a photo shoot where all restaurants delivered food to a local photographer, and the assets that have come from that shoot are incredible. So the content will be very visual and appealing, and I think everybody will be aware that Quintylicious is on.
Great. And just sorry, I have one more question on measurables. Are we going to have anything that we track so that we know this is a success, or to look at the campaign afterwards and be able to measure it?
Yeah, so anything that's online, so that's quintylicious.ca. We have a dedicated website, so we'll be able to track the views of that site. Anything social media related is trackable. We also are providing stickers to all restaurants. So those stickers will be put on all takeout packages. So we'll be able to track that, as well as the passport program. So both the physical passport and the digital passport will be able to track the stamps and the codes that are redeemed through those 2 applications.
Stickers, that's smart. Good job. Okay, any other questions from anyone? Oh, Mary Jo, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that one of the measurables that we'll do in regards to Quintylicious is finding out exactly how many people went through the program. So that will be revenue. We'll have a revenue number and a number of actual participants.
Okay. One thing we used to do too when we ran it through Restaurant Association was just at the end asked restaurants to tell us how many meals they served. And a lot of times, because they do it a certain way on their POS, they were able to give us the exact meals. So that might be one other way to track that you could just ask.
It's a great idea. We'll definitely be surveying the participants after the event, as we do with any program. So we'll include questions like that as well to add to those measurables.
Great. Okay, any more questions? Okay, thank you. Councillor Mackay, you can come back in. And go ahead, Alicia, on the Choose Belleville campaign.
Oh, sure. So for Choose Belleville, so the campaign kicked off in December, and that was featuring 10 business across a number of different sectors that we work with in the city. And it was really about putting a face behind the business. So that was sort of the intention of the program. It was a unique angle on a shop local campaign. We kicked it off through December and most of January with pretty significant social media presence and coverage. We did reduce it a bit during the lockdown because we didn't want to have conflicting messages or receive negative feedback for promoting it too heavily. But we are working on a phase 2 launch of that promotion, which will include video footage that we captured at all the sites as well. So we're just finalizing that plan, and it will likely be rolling out towards the end of this month and into March.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Kelly.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Alicia, for the report. Just, I don't know if this comes under this committee, but since we're talking about Choose Belleville, I'm just going to share some thoughts. Over the last 6 months, 5 months, when I drive around the city, I see opportunities to promote what the city does. And I see bus shelters with just glass, and that shouldn't be like that. They should be promoting something, or we sell advertising there. Buses with advertising not there because of the COVID-19 situation we're in. I see park benches or city benches having opportunities to come on and promote what we do. So I would like to know, is this the right committee to bring this up? City properties that we can use as banners to promote Quintylicious or shopping downtown or anything else that the city is doing. We see that big billboard downtown at the Four Corners, rather at the north end of the city, north front, promoting the Choose Belleville, and I would see that at a red light, and that was very engaging. But I'm just thinking, when we think outside the box, and if you drive down North Front Street or Sydney Street and you see something, a bus shelter with nothing in there, it's a city initiative. I don't know if we would build ourselves, but if we could put up a sign in there, it says Quintilicious starting in March, that kind of thing, just continuing to send positive messages. But I don't know if that's under this umbrella, or where do we go from this? I'll leave that.
I would, if I could add, Councillor, I would recommend bring it to new business, ask for a staff report and advertising opportunities for any tourism initiatives. Does that sound right?
I don't want to be in a conflict of interest, but this is more like just taking, making good use of our own inventory. If it's not sold to somebody outside a business within the city, we just take it back and we promote our stuff. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, so let's come back to that. I'm just going to write that down. We'll circle back to it in new business, and that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't want to bring it up because of the conflict.
Well, we'll make sure it's specific to to own inventory, not advertising in general. and Mix 97, something like that. Anyhow, okay, Ms. Post, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that although we didn't go into detail in terms of where we plan to market some of these programs, all of these programs include marketing them in the city, and we have secured the billboard at Bell Boulevard and North Front for the entire year for a variety of different things that we'll be promoting. And yes, we have factored in advertising on buses, bus shelters, and benches as part of the promotion for almost every initiative that we've noted in the in this agenda.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for Choose Belleville? All right.
No, I can comment on some of the questions from Councillor Kelly, but I'll leave that to new business.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, red application for work in Belleville update.
Okay, so this was brought forward to council. We did have a timing issue. Applications to the Rural Economic Development, or the RED program, were due February 1st. So council approved an application to support our Work in Belleville resume database program. So it was originally proposed to essentially develop a new website for us. So for those committee members who maybe aren't familiar with the Work in Belleville program, for many years now, our department has collected resumes from folks who are looking for work. So sometimes that's local people, sometimes it's folks from out of town. We collect the resumes, we have manually categorized them according to the skill sets they have or the kind of job they're looking for. And we've marketed those resumes to local employers. So when they're looking to hire, they simply would email us with the skill set that they're looking to hire, and we would go through the database and email them every resume we have that matches the skill set that they're looking for. It's been a very popular program, but it has suffered a bit from the fact that it is very time consuming, and we've had really no resources to market that program. So we submitted a RED application. The Rural Economic Development Program can provide up to 50% funding for specific economic development projects. Labor force development and attraction is a priority of the RED program. So we know that this application certainly fits with the kind of things that they want to fund. So we had originally proposed that the city would provide 50% of the funding. Since that time, we have actually, as a result of some questions from council, we've expanded the scope of the Work in Belleville program. So it's now a Work in Quinty program. And we've managed to bring on some partners like the City of Quinty West, the Quinty Economic Development Commission, and the Bay of Quinty Regional Marketing Board. So we've been able to move that project to a $90,000 project instead of a $60,000 project. So we're really happy with the partnerships that we've been able to form. So what the application will do is develop a brand new website for the Work in Belleville program so that folks can upload their resumes to the site automatically. They can choose the categories they'd like their resume considered in. So it takes that very labor-intensive job of scanning, reviewing every resume that comes in. It automates it, so it takes less time for our administrative assistant. And then there's a significant portion of that budget that is going to be earmarked to marketing that service that's available to local employers. We're going to make sure it's very well known locally, so anybody looking for work can send us their resume at no cost, and we're going to make sure that it's broadcast externally as well. So targeting communities like the GTA or any community we're aware of where unemployment is very high. Perhaps they've had a recent employer closure or something like that, where we see an opportunity to get some good skills to come into the community. There's no limitation on the kind of jobs that we will support. So whether it's an entry-level position or a skilled position, this program is meant to help every kind of job, every kind of employer, and every kind of job seeker. So we've submitted the application. Timing for approval, I think we've heard hopefully in May, we will hear whether the funding is approved or not. And if so, we will get working on that project.
Great, thank you. Any questions on that? Chris, do you want to jump in and just talk about from QEDC's angle on this one on work in Quinty?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, first of all, I think it's a great initiative. It's a great resource. And as we all know, labor force, crosses those municipal boundaries. So a lot of people from outside come to Belleville to work and vice versa. So expanding it to work in Quinty, I think makes a lot of good sense. And we're proud to put some QEDC resources behind it. So it fits in nicely. We're doing some work right now with our manufacturing sector, identifying those manufacturers that are hiring right now. And there's a social media and a radio program, a radio advertising program to promote specific manufacturing jobs that are hiring right now. And when we look at across the manufacturers, the sector we deal with primarily, when you look at the jobs they can't fill now, you look at the growth they want to see in terms of expansion of their business. And when you look at retirements and other things, easily 2,000 jobs over the next year just for the manufacturing sector. So it's pretty impressive, the needs. So I think this does a great job in terms of the supply side of the labor, so capturing all those people that can work, want to work, and get those out to the demand side, which is those employers that are looking to hire. So big fan of it. I think it's going to do a good job, and good job for Belleville staff for making this go.
And just if you can reiterate, Chris, the last meeting you identified there's over 2,000 skilled jobs that we can't fill. And can you just maybe give a little background on that?
And again, that's kind of a little next year. That's what we kind of anticipate. And that's just for the manufacturing sector. So that's after kind of surveying some of the industry about what their needs are. And again, what they're short now, what their growth plans are, how they want to grow with their employee base, and then also with retirements and attrition, those jobs they need to fill. So there's a big demand out there, and that's just for the sector that we primarily focus our efforts on. There's other sectors in the economy that we all know that also have needs, and this will go across all those sectors. So the need is definitely there. It's a top issue that we see. We talk to businesses on a regular basis that say this is a key priority. I know Brad at the Center for Workforce Development and his Employer One survey is going to kind of pull more of this detail out, but it's an issue, and we're glad to support it. And we're looking at a number of different programs that we're chasing after that can further leverage this and maybe bring some additional value to the program too.
Great, and just maybe to add into that, Ruth, and we've always talked from the home builder sector that we're also having some big shortages. Do you have any updates on that as well? Are we seeing the same?
Yeah, I think similar to Chris, it's something that's definitely needed. And in fact, we're working, I was going to provide this in my update today, but we're working on a website dedicated to like a one-stop shop for skilled trades. We've applied for some funding for that. So maybe there's some way for that to connect to this work in Quinty, because it would be, industry specific jobs in the trades, as well as acting as a resource for students, anyone who wants to come and learn more about a career in the trades.
Great. And Mr. Labadie, I know you'll give us an update on your Employer One survey, but that's part of getting all the data that we need. And I think the long range part of this discussion is also our children growing up here, people who are living here, how do we get them trained into some of these jobs that are coming available? Because there's no shortage of people, and I see it in my business, that want to work. It's the skill change. It's the skills that we need them to have to be able to get the employment, and that's what we're missing. So I think it's all part of the puzzle. Any other comments on this at all right now? Okay, thank you. So Karen, into the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program update.
Okay, so just a refresher for the committee, the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Pilot Project, 3 communities across Ontario were chosen to be part of the pilot project. Belleville and Quinty West are one, Chatham-Kent is another, and Cornwall is the third. So this Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program was designed because most new Canadians, when they submit their application for permanent residency, they tend to settle in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. Very few of those new Canadians settle in what's considered to be rural Ontario. So the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program set aside a specific number of new Canadian, essentially, positions that would be split evenly amongst the 3 pilot communities. So each community over a 2-year period would get 50 new Canadian spots. The advantage of that is normally these new Canadian positions, when the province opens the door for applications, they are typically sort of taken up and filled so fast that for most of the year there's no opportunity for a new Canadian to receive a permanent residency status. So they've set aside 150 of these applications, 50 for each community. We certainly had a slow start to the program because of the pandemic, the fact that new Canadians weren't able to come into the community, and certainly because there were a lot of layoffs when the pandemic first began. But since that time, progress on that pilot project has continued. There's been a lot of activity. We had a meeting with the ministry, I think it was last week, where they gave us an update on how applications have been going for that project. And I'm really proud to say that Belleville and Quinty West have kicked the butts of Cornwall and Chatham-Kent. We've had, I believe it was 42 permanent residency nominations approved. The other communities were 20 or less. So we've really done well in terms of attracting folks to the region. The good news from our meeting with the ministry is that they have approved an additional 150 positions under the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program pilot project. So we have the opportunity not to attract just 50, but 100 of these folks to our community. And those additional 150 positions for the 3 communities is to be spread over 2021. So if, as we get most of the way through 2021, if for some reason the other communities are not able to take advantage of the 100 positions that they've been allotted, Belleville and Quinty West will have the opportunity to fill some of those positions if we have the candidates. So for 2021, we're going to be ramping up the marketing on that program, and we're going to be working with our employers. So if they are aware of a candidate who is here but doesn't have permanent residency, it's an opportunity for some of the international students at the college to get permanent residency as well. And it will also help an employer find a skilled worker from outside of Canada and bring them here and get them permanent residency to work in local business. So the pilot project's going really well. So well, in fact, the province has doubled their commitment to the 3 pilot communities.
Great. Okay, any other questions on that? And Karen, maybe just from your perspective, I know just for general knowledge, if we're not filling skilled positions, what happens to some of these companies in Belleville?
Yeah, so it's a real challenge. So many of our businesses, they have to compete for business within their own structure. They have to compete for business against competitors. And when they're not able to fill positions, particularly skilled positions, they're not able to meet their production targets. They're not able to satisfy customer demand. And that has an impact on the viability of the company. It has an impact on whether they win new equipment, whether they're able to obtain additional business. And that all impacts the longevity of the business in the community. So, business tells us every day that labor is the #1 issue for them. It used to be skilled labor was the #1 issue. Now it's, I think it's safe to say it's labor in general, including skilled labor. They struggle to fill entry-level positions, and for them that is a huge priority because that is vital work that they are performing. So yeah, going without labor, it can't be a long-term issue for an employer. It's something we have to find a solution for in this community, or we will start to lose business as a result.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, through the chair. So the track that they're doing for immigration, is it that they would go quicker to get permanent residency, but it is the organization, like the company, is actually sponsoring these people? So the organization has to know a person and then try and sponsor them into their organization?
That's a great question, Stephanie. Not necessarily. So what the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program really does is just preserves 50 spots essentially for Belleville and Quinty West. The track to permanent residency or immigration is exactly the same as they would follow if they didn't come through the pilot project. But for the most part, the applicants have to have a job. They have to have a specific skill that has been identified as being needed in the province. Or they have to be an investor that has certain characteristics in order to be considered. So they could follow any one of those 3 sort of pathways to obtain permanent residency through the OINP.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. And quickly, experimental tourism strategy discussion.
I'm going to pass that one over to Alicia.
Sure, and I'll be brief. I don't know how much this has been discussed because I know it's something that began when I was off into the fall, but we are sort of at the implementation stage of getting the strategy going. So city staff created a strategy last year for Belleville, and we had the opportunity to partner with Bay of Quinty, who submitted a grant to RED, and we received some additional funds. So we are implementing a regional strategy with Bay of Quinty taking the lead, and Belleville has expressed interest in being the primary municipal partner with essentially funds ready to execute or implement the plan when it's done. So we're at the 2nd phase out of 6 phases of the plan, which is building our inventory. And so that's regional inventory. It'll be done through Bay of Quinty. And then from there, we'll be identifying pillars and clusters across the regions and for each municipal partner, dealing with subject matter experts to gain knowledge in each of those clusters, and then training and mentoring those businesses who are looking to create experiences. And then the final phase is experience marketing. So those 6 phases are going to occur over the course of a year, with the training and experience development and marketing being an ongoing thing. But from Belleville's perspective, we have budget ready to start implementing once we have those phases complete.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, thank you. I'm just going to, I'm going to move new business up before, and then we'll do our update for partner organizations. I think I just have one member who said they had to leave early today. So for new business, I just have one item, then we'll actually start with Councillor Kelly's item first. So Councillor Kelly was, you can probably just continue that, but from what I wrote down, you'd like to look at it, advertising on existing city inventory, and that's for tourism, and business or for economic development. You want to speak more on that?
Yes, maybe we can get a stat through you, Mr. Chair, maybe just a report. I see it on occasion that there's potential for the city just to use some of its own properties, if you will, to continue to promote all the events that the city does. And that's basically, but Karen had touched on that, that is happening to some degree. I just feel that if there's bus shelters that haven't been sold, or there's no advertising attached to it for 4 or 6 weeks, we just promote city stuff. I know other companies do that, and any city properties that we have that have the potential even inside the sports center. I know we sell advertising, and transportation looks after the buses. I've had this conversation with Mr. Reed, but I just think now it's an opportunity, maybe sit back and take a look at how we can continue to promote stuff. That's all I have for you.
Okay, so staff report, Karen, if we could probably bring that back at a next meeting, that'd be great.
Of course, yep.
Okay. Second item I've got, this is not a new item. We've passed it actually twice. I'm bringing it back for the third time. Third time's the charm. We've talked several times in this committee about the workload of this department for economic development. This is the smallest economic development department in the whole region, and I think Eastern Ontario. But as you can see from work plans, you can see from strategic plans, you can see from new initiatives that we have to do based on strategic planning and not to mention COVID recovery. We just don't have the resources in this department to be able to carry those out. And to me, that's a detriment, not only from what we want to achieve as a city through economic development and destination development, but also for what we want to become and what recovery means. And I think the big key word on this is recovery. As we get out of COVID and the next year, we need to make sure that we're building the city back up. And there's a lot of initiatives there. So I would like to put on the floor a recommendation to council that we add a staff resource to the economic development department. I think this motion would allow staff to write that report to submit to council. And if someone wants to make that motion and we can get a seconder, we can get it on the floor.
So if I could call a point of order, Mr. Chair, it is not a committee responsibility related to staffing. I believe the matter should be referred to the CAO.
So just to add on to that, this is a committee that does give recommendations to council based on resources for strategic planning. And at this point, we do not approve the staff. We make a recommendation to council. And at this point, what I'm saying on that is that we've made that recommendation twice. It has not made it to council. I've had discussions on the side with CAO Bove, but as a committee, we are in our rights to recommend resources that fit the strategic direction or that allow staff to do what they do to put the plan that we've got together. Therefore, we are in our rights as a committee to approve that. It's up to council then to debate that and council's decision, but it doesn't get to council without approval recommendation from the committee.
A point of order on that as well. I think it's a little disrespectful to bring something like that up under new business. I think if the more appropriate thing to do would be bring a report to the committee if you so choose, but to just slap something down on the floor without any prior information or any warning, I think is a little disrespectful. So, I mean, I would be in keeping with that, and I'm certainly not going to support it just for that reason alone.
Okay, well, your point of order is noted, Councillor, and new business is allowed. You're allowed to bring anything through. So the point of order is invalid. And at this point, this is here to be brought on the floor and seconded if the committee wants to discuss this at this point. Does someone want to make that motion? Councillor Kelly, a seconder.
I'll second it.
Okay, and Blair Gamble, I had Joyce. Any discussion on that? And Karen, can you maybe just be able to start with what's needed, why, and what a certain position could do for your department?
Certainly. So this is something that we have proposed in the past. As you know, the department has the manager, myself. We have a development tourism assistant who is Alicia, and we have an administrative assistant in our department, which is Kimberly. So the proposal that's been drafted in the past would be to see that development tourism position split into two separate positions. So we would have an individual that focus solely on tourism development. And then we have a person who is responsible for business attraction. And then of course, the manager would be working on elements of both of those roles. You know, there are all kinds of things. We always say in economic development, there's never a reason that you shouldn't be run off your feet, because there's always more we could and should be doing. When we look at the initiatives we most want to do to support our businesses and attract new investment in the city, we just don't have the resources to do those kinds of things. So when we look at projects like the commercial pop-ups, We'd love to be doing more for downtown promotion. We think there's tremendous opportunities to be doing and building on the success of the farmers market. Wayfinding signage, that experiential tourism strategy. There's all kinds of things we can be doing to promote those initiatives, to further those initiatives. Even physician recruitment doesn't get near the attention that it should, and we know those programs could be much more successful if we had some additional resources to provide. Simply database development in the city. We'd love to be communicating better with our businesses to make sure they understand what resources are available to them. Attracting newcomers, that this Work in Quinty initiative. These are all things that we would dearly love to not only do, but do better. But we just don't have the staff resources. As Chairman Williams mentioned, we have, we're facing a lot of competition, not just across the province, but regionally as well. And all of those other departments have a lot more resources than we do. And we do struggle to keep up. We think we do a lot with what we have, but we think we could do a whole lot more with just a small increase in our staffing complement.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all in favor.
I think Edge has his hand up.
Oh, Ed, sorry, I can't see you. You look black. There you go. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thanks. And I know we've as a committee, we've discussed this before, and I hope that if it is approved, it will get to council strictly as a recommendation, because I'm fully aware that we can't hire staff, but we can make those recommendations. And I'd like to ask Karen, I recall when I first got on council back in the Middle Ages sort of thing in 2003, there was you and there was, I think it was Angela, and there was a admin assistant. And what is there now in that department? Is it still like 3-4 people?
We have exactly the same staffing complement we had many years ago. So back in 2003, we have the same 3 positions in the department. Since that time, the one thing that has changed is council undertook a bit of a strategic planning session around tourism. So quite a few years ago, council made the decision to focus more of our resources on tourism. So that has grown in terms of the portfolio and the time that we spend marketing Belleville as a place for tourists to come. So although our staff complement hasn't changed, the focus for the department has significantly changed since then. And I would say that the development tourism position, Alicia's position, thankfully, she's an incredibly efficient employee. She does amazing work. But I would say probably at least 80% of her time is spent on tourism initiatives. And, there just isn't enough time to resort to spending half time on development, general development work. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it does. But I also agree with Councilor McCall where it's best that we give everyone on this committee a chance to see exactly everything that your department does. And I know we had a report here that identified all the items that you do, but perhaps if you can give to this committee a report that would show what ideas you would have in terms of, if you had an extra staff member, how would it get broken down? Because, I certainly understand Councilor McCaw's concern that when something like that's put forward, that there should be something that we can read, or, an idea of where you can best utilize that staff, how you propose. If there's any grants available, or will the city fully fund that staff member, and those kind of things. But when would this, if we proved it, when would it go to council? Is there a rush for the operations budget? When is the operations budget, or did that pass in the fall?
Maybe we can go to Mr. Bove, if you can speak to that, please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I would answer that by saying it's getting awful tight for operating budget for 2021. Departments are meeting with finance over the next couple of weeks. The next council meeting is March the 8th. That this could be on the agenda. I don't have the date that the finance committee is meeting to discuss operating handy, but it is in early March. And then council will consider the 2021 operating budget on March the 30th. So it's getting tight.
So if there was a report back to this committee at our next meeting, would it and if it was passed, would it still be able to get to the finance committee or to council?
It would have to go to council on March the 8th, and I'm just trying to find the finance committee meeting date. I can't seem to find it on the schedule here. It is on, it's on March the 1st.
Right. And is it the policy then of the city that if a committee makes a recommendation to council, it's and it has to do with staffing or anything, it goes to that subcommittee of council or the finance committee, and it doesn't get to council?
No, typically if this committee makes a recommendation to council, a formal recommendation moved and seconded, it would go to council. Then it would be council's determination whether to receive it or take any action on it, or alternatively refer it to the operating budget discussions.
Okay, so did you mention then that whether if we do get a report and if we recommend it, that report will go then to council?
It would. Sorry, it would go to council, at the next available meeting, subject to, subject to the mayor approving the agenda as he typically does. So certainly, I think what you would want to accomplish is get it to council and then have council direct it to the operating budget discussion that council will undertake on March.
That's fine, as long as the objective, in my opinion, is to get it to council and not have it obstructed or otherwise removed by another committee. I'm not sure what this committee would prefer, but I mean, I would like to see some type of report rather than us simply voting on it today, Councilor Williams. If there is such a way that we could get a report.
Okay, and then what I'm hearing then is we could have a motion to table and then have that come back with a report for February 25th. And so just to reiterate, Mr. Bove, that should be enough time to get it through to council on the 8th.
That would give it enough time to be ahead of the agenda. Unfortunately, I mean, we have a council meeting Monday, but the agenda is set and is on its way out the door right now.
Okay. Any more discussion? And then maybe what we'll have is have you make a tabling motion, Mr. Boyce.
Yeah.
Any more discussion first, though?
Stephanie has her hand up.
Yeah,
Oh,
just,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, through the chair, just a question, so economic development, obviously huge going after, we're still in COVID, but is there reallocation of resources within the city? Obviously, because some areas are not even going to be utilized based on just what the environment we're in right now. So I'm just thinking, I'm not sure how that's done within your HR, but in my mind, economic development and assistance or organizations right now is going to be paramount in our city in general. And then there's going to be other areas that are actually not going to be operating, in my mind. And that's just an avenue, I guess, for the resource right now, and the necessity of the resource right now, I would say. Just a thought.
Okay. And Mr. Bove would be the one to answer if you have any. If not,
Well, certainly during the first wave of COVID last year, we used or made use of city staff that were typically working in areas that were not active because of the pandemic, and that allowed us to open the marina at Myers Pier, for instance, and the splash pads throughout the city, and to help keep the grass cut, those types of things. So we were able to transfer some resources that way. Unfortunately, I think with this position, Karen doesn't just need a body, she needs a body with a skill set. And typically we don't have those folks sitting around in the city's employ, not doing what they may be skilled at. So, and then looking at it from the financial point of view, the challenge isn't making use of some of those savings because certain areas aren't operating. It's when those things get back operating, council has to make a determination. Are they looking to add the resources to carry through with assistance for economic development over the long term?
okay. Any other discussion? Okay, so I guess, Mr. Boyce, do you want to make a tabling motion?
Yeah, I'd like it tabled till a report comes to our next meeting.
Okay, and seconder? Someone put their hand up. Mr. Gamble? Okay, there's no debate on a tabling motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with QEDC. Mr. King, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did send a copy of our year-end report just this morning to Karen and to you, Councillor Williams, for the Quinty Economic Development. So there's a PDF as well as an online version. You could kind of flip through the pages. So if we get that out to the committee members, you'll have a full update of everything we did last year. Our AGM's coming up on February 23rd. And at that point in time, we'll present our budget and our plan and hopefully get that approved and start rolling out the activities for this year. A couple things I want to tell you about. We did receive some funding. It hasn't been announced yet, so I can't tell you the source of the funding, but it's from upper levels of government to support our Proudly Made in Bay Quinty program. So this is where we celebrate all the great things that are manufactured in the region. And that's not only the products, but also the people and the processes and the companies behind them. And that was a direct initiative that our manufacturers asked us to take on. So now when you go into, we're working to get some signage in stores. So you'll see the Hawkins Cheesies or the Reed's Dairy Milk or Kellogg's cereal or Maple Hill cheese or all those things that are made here. The consumer will be able to identify that that's a local product. So we got some new signage being rolled out, and a lot of the grocery stores are getting on board with that. We'll also do a lot more profiles of those non-consumer facing products, more the business to business. So think of, some of the wire and cable manufacturers or auto parts where you don't buy it directly, but it goes into another product. So we're going to do case stories on that. And the goal is just to raise the awareness about the manufacturing sector. It's about 20% of the wages paid in the region is from manufacturing, but half of the region's economic output comes from manufacturing. So it's an important sector that needs some help, and we're working to do that. As part of that initiative, as I mentioned before, we have dollars to promote specific manufacturing jobs. And we're doing some cooperative marketing with a number of our manufacturers that are saying, I got a need right now. So we're doing ads on the radio, doing social media, Facebook, some programmatic advertising to promote those jobs in the local community. So part of the goal or maybe the frustration is we we have a need to fill jobs, but at the same time, we see that, maybe people aren't well connected to the workforce. They're not finding any traction. They're not maybe even thinking about, hey, I could do a job at in the manufacturing sector. So we're doing some work to raise that awareness. And again, that's with some funding we received to make that happen. As well, our Elevate Plus program, we're hoping once lockdown ends, we'll deliver some more cohorts to train people to get them job ready to enter the manufacturing. And most of those people from the previous cohorts come off social assistance. So it's taken them off the social assistance program and get them into full-time employment. And it's been really successful. So we're looking forward to getting those going again. We also have a component to do training of the incumbent workforce. So the people already working in industry need to upgrade their skills. And through that program, we also are able to provide some training to support companies to do that. So it's really about, helping our companies through that, through the labor force, upgrading skills, finding more people, getting people job ready to take those jobs. So that's all happening. And we also have a similar program that we have funding for and both those projects we coordinate through Loyalist College. We get the funding and then we subcontract college to deliver the training. We also have a program for the military. So this is called Elevate Plus Military, where we train people, family members and spouses from the military side who maybe have not found traction in the labor market to get them job ready. And they're doing some online training, and that's mostly focused on the financial sector. So get them ready for remote work in the financial sector. So that's happening. The course, I think it started last week, and they have a number of folks participating in that. So again, it's just getting people connected to the workforce. And there's not one magic, hey, if we do this, we're going to solve our workforce problems. But with all the different components that we've talked about today and else at other times, it's starting to move the flags a little bit and move that forward. So good news there. We also received word that Loyalist College is starting a mechatronics program. So highly needed by industry, kind of mechanical and the electronic side blended together. And that's starting next fall, I believe. So that's going to be a good one too, to get more people in that program at the post-secondary level. And I'll just say that we talk to our manufacturers on a regular basis. There's a lot of companies out there that are growing. They have plans for expansion, for new hires, new equipment, new technology. So there's some good things happening out there. And the level of inquiries is still very good. We've had inquiries in the food processing side, several large logistics inquiries that are looking for large industrial tracts of land, manufacturing. So there's good level of activity there. And we do have one that's kind of come to our area, but they haven't announced yet. So we're anxious for them to kind of make a decision, Karen, to let everyone know who they are, but it's a good one too. So good things happening overall from Quinty economic development and some of those sectors, but we certainly do recognize there's other parts of the economy and other sectors and other businesses that are feeling the pain, and certainly our partners at Trendvale and the Small Business Center and others are working to support that group as well. So I'll leave it at that. Be glad to answer any questions, and encourage everyone, when you get that year-end report, take a look and see what we're up to, and then we'll at the next meeting we'll be able to report back in terms of what we're up to coming in the 2021 year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any questions at all from the board? Okay. Ruth Eswick, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I forgot to unmute myself. So just in keeping with the strategic plan that you mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, Mr. Chair, I'm just going to focus mostly on the trades work that we are doing. So we've recently established what we're calling STAG, which is our Skilled Trades Advisory Group. We've developed a committee and we're working on our mandate in terms of reference. And we have a couple of key initiatives that committee is going to be responsible for, including one I mentioned earlier, which is related to a one-stop shop construction trades resource website. And we have applied for funding for that project, and we're waiting word from the ministry. In addition to that, we're working on gathering data on just specific labor needs in our industry, and in particular from our members, just because we feel that if we have that data, it will really help us better create some of these initiatives. And we're also working on the co-op education piece. So we have a seminar coming up on February the 18th with the Algonquin Lakeshore District Catholic School Board, as well as OYAP, on educating employers on co-op programs, because we feel there's a disconnect there between, you know, the education piece and getting, you know, kids that are interested in the, or students that are interested in the trades in front of employers, because obviously they could be our future in terms of skilled trades. And then the last thing that we're working on, which we've received funding for, like what Chris mentioned, we're not allowed to really talk about the project in detail yet because it hasn't been fully signed off. But it's a work integrated learning project with Loyalist College. So similar to what we spoke about in terms of the co-op, it'll be similar to that program where our members will be involved as active employers in this work integrated learning. And so again, our focus is primarily being the voice of the residential construction industry. And of course, trades is a huge part of that. One of the projects that we're going to be relaunching this year as part of this STAG, or the Skilled Trades Advisory Group, is the Build Your Home in the Bay of Quinty initiative that we started a couple of years ago, which is a video and some promotional material intended to entice existing tradespeople to come and live and work in the Bay of Quinty. So those are some of the things that we're working on currently with this new committee, and there's some, hopefully some exciting initiatives that we'll be able to report more on at the next meeting.
Okay, great. Any questions at all? Okay, thank you, Ruth. QDAR is actually here. We have Don McCool. So Don, welcome, new member, resource member from QDAR. Are you there, Don? Maybe we'll come back to Don in a couple of minutes. If you come back, Don, just let us know. Come back off mute. And we'll go with the BDIA. So go ahead, Mary Jo.
A couple of things that basically January was grant writing month. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat. We ended up being able to apply for 5 grants in total. And that was from all 3 levels of government. So we're anxious to hear about those for sure. And we're also helping members keep up with the grant and loan opportunities for them. Our members, of course, are anxiously awaiting the downtown or the lockdown announcements next week. I think that's probably the most popular question for the last number of weeks that comes into my office. Some of our key accomplishments: Welcoming Streets, the program that we are copying Guelph on, to do with helping our vulnerable population and the business population basically work better together. We'll have the funding confirmed next week, and we've got an ambitious start date of March 1st. The funding looks like it's going to go through, and we're still looking for a partner that can be the hiring organization. Alicia has already talked about that. We are really excited to be a part of this particular Quintilicious. I think it's going to be very successful. The DMS initiative is complete. We secured 52 approved grants, which is $130,000 of digital marketing towards the downtown district experience through our members. So it's $25,000 directly onto the street. We also have 7 businesses going through the Future Proof program beginning in a couple of weeks. So I'm interested to see the fruit of that. And then the downtown district Wi-Fi project is close to the finish line. They've had to jump a few hurdles technically and with some of their suppliers. So hopefully at some point in the next couple of weeks, if not month, we'll be able to not only have Wi-Fi in the downtown, but have active 24/7 stats on who's coming into the downtown core and what they're doing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions? All right, Don, are you there yet? Okay, if not, Brad left. He's going to send a report. Brad had to leave. Mr. Labadie And we'll do last but not least, of course, Janet and Gerald, Quinty Arts Council. Go ahead, Janet.
Thank you. Just everybody's got so much. January's become crazy busy. And yes, we were in and still are deep into grants. We generally write them right in. Well, they can be year long, but we're pretty busy right up till March. Arts and culture definitely contribute to making this place more vibrant and an attractive place to live. And we've been working on arts and culture or arts education. So training artists to pivot to virtual so that they can help bring their art training into our classrooms to teach the students art. And we recently hosted a shop here. So that is to have our artists be able to sell their art and their work online. Ideally, artists not always technically, they don't always love the technical side of it. So going virtual has its challenges. We're working on reworking our programs and services for 2021 to prepare for a lot of virtual experiences and coming up with ideas for programming that will attract and complement the tourist sector. So we do work with the city for a plein air, and it generally is a May. So we're looking to change the timing of that. But we are currently working on hosting our Biennial Art Show, and it is for Quinty residents, Quinty artists. That our jurisdiction goes from Bancroft to Prince Edward County, Brighton to Napanee. So it is quite a big jurisdiction. So artists in that area applying to be juried at the expressions, and that is held at the Parrot. And we're not changing the dates on that because we really need to get those funds into the artist's hands. So we will be going ahead with it if it has to be virtual and then showing it later on, hopefully in the summer. That's part of our destination development for the area.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Any questions at all? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. And yeah, just as a reminder, we want to update that strategic report card. So everyone, one of those partners, just make sure you update that, and we'll have that for our next meeting. So next meeting, February 25th, 10:30 on Zoom. And motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry, Karen, go ahead.
I just wanted to provide the committee with a very quick update on the community improvement plan that was approved by council in December of last year. It's not something that we've talked a lot about in the past, but it provides some tremendously good incentives for business in the region. So the planning department actually of the city took this project on, and what they have done is essentially combined our downtown community improvement plan, an affordable housing community improvement plan, and our brownfields community improvement plan into one. We call it a CIP, a community improvement plan. It provides really great incentives to encourage affordable housing, to encourage the cleanup of brownfield sites around the city, and it also supports the downtown redevelopment, including the facade program. So it allows for reduced, if not eliminated, building permit costs, development charge fees, and provides as well some facade grants as well. So that information is available on the city's website, and I just wanted to make the committee aware that that community improvement plan has been approved. It provides great incentives for the private sector who's looking to invest in any one of those three sectors in the community. And if you can help spread the word that that community improvement plan is in place, that would be very much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn by